Shabbos. When one gets involved in Judaism, should one go all in or incrementally? Interesting question. Last week we read about the half a shekel. This week we read the summary of how much they collected with a half a shekel. The Rambam tells us that when the Jews donated half a shekel, they had to give it all at once. They couldn't give it over time, pay it off, or in small parts. They had to give the half a shekel at once. Fascinating that the same Rambam says that when it comes to charity in general, it's better to give it over a longer period of time. It's better to give it incrementally. It's better to, let's say you're giving $10,000, give $1,000 a month than just the 10,000. Why? Because you refine yourself every time you give. Whereas if you give it in one go, then the rest of the time you're not doing the mitzvah. Here, at least, you're doing the mitzvahs more often. That's my Rambam's perspective. Whereas when it comes to the half a shekel, he says, no. Here you have to give it all at once. And the Rebbe gives an interesting perspective on this, and that is that there's certain things in Judaism that you have to be all in. Yes, certain things, refinement is better if it's done over a period of time. But in certain aspects, there has to be an all-in dimension. Which ones? So, first of all, with a half a shekel, what was that given for? It was given initially to count the Jews. Hashem says, you want to count? Don't count by counting people. Count the coins that they give. What were they counted for? They were counted, it was a census to know how many people you had in the army. You only counted men from 20 to 60, the people who went to the army. In an army, you have to be all in. There cannot be an army that maybe a little bit or in a little, I'm out. In an army, you have to be fully in. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed. Interesting perspective, interesting reality is that it does not seem that Israel has won any wars since Yom Kippur War and Tebi, going after the nuclear reactor of Saddam Hussein. But after that, it doesn't seem like we won any wars. And the perfect example of that was the Lebanon War, the first Lebanon War, 1982, where they, instead of going in, finishing the job and going out, they went in, they delayed, they paused, they were worried about world opinion, and they didn't finish the job. Unfortunately, as a result of not finishing the job, the PLO went to Tunisia, then we had Oslo, and the results are what we have now. The Rebbe at the time, I remember him screaming about it, saying, finish the job, go in, finish, and go out. It's like, he said, it's like someone having an operation, and the doctor cuts, and there's a lot of blood coming out, and says, oh, too much blood, we'll stop, and we'll start again, and we stop. That's not how you wage war. War has to be all in. This is my goal, this is my purpose, this is what I'm going to do. And a soldier has to be all in. You can't be a soldier and not be all in, with 1 foot in, 1 foot out. We're seeing it now. Thank God the soldiers are indeed all in. We don't know about the political class or the leadership of the army if they're all in and actually there to finish the job. But what's the lesson of that to us who are not in the army? I guess the lesson for us is there has to be one element of our Judaism that we're all in. There's a concept the Gemara says, the Talmud says to one of the sages, asked the other, your father, what was he extra careful in? In other words, what mitzvah was his mitzvah that he was all in for? And that's the question we have to ask. In our Judaism, what aspect of our Judaism are we all in? Yes, maybe many aspects of our Judaism, our growth has to be incremental. But there has to be something that they're not moving me from. This is what I'm in completely. So think about it. What aspect of Judaism will your children say that you were all in on? That's something that is totally you. Think about that, and good Shabbos.